But I'll tell you what, there's a lot of lies when it comes to deer hunting industry. And really it boils down most of the time on companies, manufacturers, individuals trying to suck the money out of you and get you to spend your hard-earned dollars on something hunting related, because we get so excited about big bucks. Let's face it, and everyone says, well, I'm happy shooting a doe or a small buck. For me, I really don't care what you shoot. If you get excited about shooting it, more power to you. I don't care if it's a small buck. I even tell my clients here, they're hiring me to come design their property for the day, and they're paying me a lot of money to do so. They've invested a lot of money into their land. They want to get the most out of it. I leave and I tell them, I want to see some pictures this fall. Not because I use them in reviews or anything, because I don't typically, haven't for years. I just like seeing pictures during the fall. That's part of the fun of what I do. And the enjoyment is to get XYZ clients sending me a picture of a deer they shot. And I tell them, I don't care if it's a spike. They laugh, we'll never shoot a spike. But at the same time, if it makes them happy, I just want to see the picture. I tell them I want to see smiling faces with dead stuff on a picture sent to my phone. That's the cool part about what I do. But big bucks are exciting. When you're sitting around a campfire at hunting camp, are you telling this great story about a doe named Sally? And yes, I'd named a doe back in the day Sally. But are you sitting around there talking about this giant doe that's eluded you for years, or are you talking about Big Mo, the giant 10-point that lives out on public land somewhere in some remote location, and you get a glimpse of them every once in a while? Big bucks are what dreams are made of, and there's nothing wrong with that, but the hunting industry a lot of times uses that to suck dollars out of you. And I'll talk about some lies. These are some more honorable mentions. Some of those are just more recent, because there's so many. I could list many, many lies when it comes to the hunting industry and how it's designed a lot of times. And I'm not saying, there are so many good manufacturers. You can see the ones that I work with. I partner with companies that I believe in their product. And that's the only reason I'm using it. I don't want to use junk. And so I don't really care if I partner with a company that I really like their product. We'll show it more, we'll showcase it more in videos, whatever, if I'm partnered with them. But I use a lot of companies that wouldn't sponsor me, pay me to use their product. And I don't really care. I want to use what's best. And if you see me using something on there, it's because I believe in it, not only in the company, but in the product too. Some of the honorable mentions right here. Right now, they're just kind of random right now. I've been planting food plots since the mid-90s. Since the end of the 90s, I have used a lot of no-till recipes. My ultimate no-till blend, easy no-till. I started those 20 years ago, over 20 years ago in some cases. I put seed on the ground, and then what I do is spray it afterwards with Roundup, glyphosate. I do so because I want to kill the weeds that are there, and it doesn't hurt the seed. There's talk recently online, where if you spray glyphosate on seeds that are on the ground, not yet germinated yet, that it's going to destroy germination rates and destroy germination in general. There's even some guy out there or person actually putting seed in a jug of glyphosate right now in a bucket to show, hey, these soaked in glyphosate for a day or two, look, they don't germinate. That's kind of like saying, well, sugar won't kill you, but I'm going to prove it will, because I'm going to eat 200 pounds of sugar today. I'm going to ingest that into my body. And you know what? I'll probably choke and die eventually. I don't know if I'll make it to 100 pounds or 50 pounds, when I'm going to make it. I'm diabetic too. But bottom line is, soaking seed in glyphosate in a 5-gallon bucket, it's no different than 6 inches of glyphosate on the field out there. Folks, that doesn't happen. I'm sure you could soak it in too much water. Obviously, if seed's underwater, it's not going to germinate. Same thing. So I guess I could start something out there saying that, hey, water is going to kill seed. Because if you put seed in a bucket, it's not going to grow in a bucket of water. Bottom line is, it's something that goes around. People try to make a name for themselves. They try to, promote their channel, whatever they're doing. And all of a sudden, there's all these rumors going around about it. And it's unfortunate, because it's misinformation, and the hunting industry is ripe with misinformation. You just have to look on social media today. Number 2, that trail cams don't spook deer. Meaning that I can put a trail camera on a stick or on a skinny tree, face level on a deer trail, and watch that deer come. And if it looks at the camera and shies away and I never get a picture, well, it's because your hands were dirty. You didn't spray the camera. It heard the camera, whatever, XYZ, fill in the blank. But it can't be that they saw this box on a tree. And folks, that couldn't be further from the truth. No matter what state I'm in, public or private land, I do not wear gloves. I don't spray my cameras down because you don't need to. I mean, look at most of our mock scrapes. I'm literally cutting the vine, hanging it there, and within a day, we're getting bucks and does coming up and using those mock scrapes. I didn't wear gloves or anything. You don't have to do that. It's kind of one of those big lies. It's just misinformation. Maybe to sell a product. Maybe, again, they see that buck avoiding that trail camera and they blame it on something else. But bottom line, you just have to hide your trail cameras. It's pretty easy to do so. 6 feet in the air. I started preaching that 15 years ago, 12 years ago, whatever it was. A tree wider than the camera, and then use blackout, low glow, something like that. And I found the reason we started putting the cameras in the air is because of the red infrared bulbs. And what we found is if they're 6-7 feet off the ground, typically the deer don't notice. But if it's at face level, it's going to notice. You know what's kind of cool? Do an experiment. Put a camera that's very widely seen, easily seen. Watch every deer that goes by during the daylight, look at it. Watch every deer that goes by during the night, not look at it. It's because they can't see it. It's dark. It's not because they're smelling it, because you left your fingerprints there, because they can hear it. It's simply because they can see it during the daylight, not at night. Another one of those big lies in the hunting industry. Heavy arrows. This is a huge one. I'll refer you to someone I have a lot of respect for from Matthews Archery, Joe Maxfield. Just look him up on Facebook. He just completed in the last couple of years his I think they call it the Super Slam, where he's shooting 39 of the North American big game species. He's completed his sheep slam, Super Slam, harvesting all North American sheep. And he'd done so with an arrow that typically weighs around 460 grains at 70 pounds. Now, some will say that's light. And if you're comparing it to a 600-700 grain arrow, it is. I think my arrows are about 425, somewhere around there. And I shoot a 62-pound bow. So I'm right around that same ratio of weight of arrow to weight of draw length. There's balance. And so someone like Joel Maxfield, who's a professional hunter, shoots all around the world. Even his wife has shot so many different African game, big game species. They do it with a balanced arrow. If we take that same approach to guns, how about we say a 458 Weatherby? It's a 300 grain bullet traveling at about 2,600 feet a second. Am I going to tell you you're irresponsible for not using a 458 Weatherby, using the biggest, heaviest, baddest gun you can for deer? It's not a deer rifle. It's not a deer gun. It's not a deer round. It's not supposed to be. How about a 270? You know, traveling not that much faster, but more like a 130 grain bullet. I have a 270 short mag. Same thing. I've shot deer with a 25-06. I think it's a 117 grain bullet. Lots of deer with that. 243 has killed a lot of deer. I like something more balanced. I don't like going totally light, but you don't need to even use a 300 Weatherby mag for deer. An appropriate round. How many deer have been shot with a 270 as opposed to a 458? Even a 30-30, it really produces a great punch when it hits, but it's a heavy bullet traveling slow, and it's not appropriate for longer distances unless you really know your trajectory and know your distance. I'm not saying you can't shoot a whitetail at 200 yards with a 30-30, but I'd rather have a 270 in my hand to do so with a lighter, faster bullet. And there's that balance, that heavy arrow thing. I hope you haven't fallen for it, because there's so many people out there, and Joel does a great job of breaking this down, and the amount of drop between 30 and 35 yards from a 650 grain arrow versus a 450 grain arrow. And it's staggering. Basically, the difference from 35 to 37 yards, you're going to get a gut shot or hit it in the back with a heavy arrow, where you're still going to be in the kill with a balanced arrow. I'm talking balance. I'm not talking about shooting 70 pounds with a 300 grain arrow or even a 350 grain arrow. I'm talking about balance. That's another hunting industry fad that's promoted by mostly more inexperienced hunters, people that want to show, yeah, you could show some charts that you get more penetration with that heavier arrow. Maybe. But when you factor in the trajectory and shooting unknown distances at between 32 and 36, or 32 and 27, the numbers go on and on. Think about it. Balance is key, but it's another hunting industry lie. It's produced a lot of arrow sales. I don't know who's behind it, but it's interesting. I think one of deer hunting's biggest lies, and what we'll talk about today, is really that a mature buck downwind can be fooled. It can't, folks. It really can't. I love my scent elimination spray that I use, ElimiShield. I believe in it. I spray it on my boots, my legs, my arms. I don't want to leave a scent trail in the woods. I think that's something you can control, that you can eliminate your scent so much that a deer in passing might think it's yesterday's scent or 8 hours ago. They really don't care too much. We've had mature bucks walk right over that scent. It's pretty easy to see that. But boy, when you're getting a good dose of your scent and they're downwind of you, that's 100 times greater. It's huge volume of scent, this big giant scent cone going right at them. They're scent contraption machines, dust, gel, spray, clothing. Folks, if that deer is downwind of you, they're going to spook, especially the older they are when it comes to mature bucks. So don't think that you can just buy something, and I know some scent companies won't like to hear that, but don't think you can buy something and then fool that deer downwind of you. Again, just trying to suck your hard-earned dollars. There's some great deceivers when deer are downwind of you. Just some points real quick. Thermals. If you're above them in the morning, depending on the height of your tree stand or the height of your elevation above that deer, your position, upper ridge, below ridge, if those deer are below you, depending on the elevation changes, 50 feet or above, 40 feet or above as far as elevation. If you're getting those morning thermals, you could have a wind that's directly at your back. You're shooting a deer down below. I've probably shot half my mature bucks that way for a long, long time. The wind is going up and out and over them. It's not that my scent is being controlled in any way, because a lot of times I'm walking 35 minutes up a ridge, climbing into a stand, and I'm pretty sweaty and I'm pretty stinky. So my scent, if that deer got the wind of that scent of mine, they're gonna bugger out and they're gonna be gone. But they're not getting because of the thermals. And that can happen in the evening in the last 45 minutes of light. That can happen in the morning all the way up to middle of the day while the temperature's rising. Really, you can fool their nose with thermals, but you're not fooling it because of something you did. And so if you were doing something to your body, to your clothing, some type of wash, and that scent and those thermals are going at that deer and above that deer, you could look at it and say, wow, the wind was at my back, deer's below me. It didn't spook it because of what I did. No, it's just deceiving you. Because if that deer got a whiff of you at 40 yards, 30 yards, he's going to be gone. Young deer, a lot of times. Young does, young bucks. I mean, some of those young bucks, think about it, mother kicks them out of the herd. They're living on their own. Not quite old enough to fit in with the more experienced bucks. They're just kind of running around. That's why a lot of times a yearling, year and a half old buck, 2.5-year-old buck, they're the hardest to pattern because they really don't have their place yet. They've been kicked out of the herd. They're on their own, and they're just not too wise. They don't have the advantage of numbers and lots of eyes around them like a doe family group or doe herd, and they're not quite experienced enough. They're going to learn a lot because if they survive the first season, the second, the third, they're accumulating a huge amount of wisdom and experience. And that's why an older mature buck, because they've had to live on their own and make decisions as an independent thinker, a lot of times is the hardest buck or hardest deer to kill even on a same age doe, because does are much more patternable. They live next to their food sources a lot closer. They don't range out. They have a fraction of the home range of a mature buck. So when you look at a buck and what it goes through on a daily basis, it's impossible to fool a mature buck with your scent blowing right at it, unless, number 3 here, he's rut crazed. He's on a doe, that doe's flying through, he's on his tail, he stops right in front of you, you shoot him, he's downwind of you, and you think, wow, I just fooled him. No, he had women on his mind. He had that female, he had that doe right in front of you, that doe scent. He's just rut crazed, and that can give you the illusion and deceive you that everything's okay and that what you're doing is working. I look at number 3, the only chance you have. I do like some of the scent containment blinds. I do not believe they contain 100% of your scent, but I believe they can reduce it enough that a stray wind or a wind at a not too bad of an angle doesn't hurt you. It holds your scent in that blind. It contains it. And I believe there's some truth to that. We have an area we're going to stick a redneck in this year. It's the bottom of a draw. It's an area where a lot of points come together, and there's a huge amount of buck traffic in that location already. When we get random bucks coming through, we've gotten a lot of really nice pictures down there at the bottom, and I want to put a blind down there. I don't want to put a tree stand, because then I'm really going to be out in the open. If I have that blind, I'll get away with a lot more, but even then, you still have that risk. Limiting your distance. What I mean by that is if you are super clean and you're controlling everything, maybe that deer that would have smelled you at 200 yards only smells you at 100, but bottom line, if he's 50 yards, 70 yards within bow range, you're probably in big trouble if your scent is blowing right at them. Number 4, what's the way around all this? Scent's blowing at that deer. You're buying XYZ product to hide that. It's not going to work. What is going to work is learning how to hunt. Learning how to position your stand where those deer are probably coming through. Learning how to position your stand next to downwind blockers. Drop-offs on a ridge, a swamp, an open hardwoods, a nearby horse pasture where deer are not at during the daylight, housing complex, suburban areas. In suburban areas, those deer are easy to fool because they're used to human scent everywhere. You can almost blow it anywhere you want in those cases when you're in those big metropolitan areas, and they're not going to be very wary. But learn how to hunt. That's a big thing. It seems like nowadays, and we have another video that we're creating today about food plots, that food plots to me have deteriorated hunting skill because people aren't working and walking back in the woods and learning how to hunt and hunting pinch points and funnels. They're sticking on a blind like they see on the cable TV shows. They're sticking a blind on a food plot, walking in and hunting that food plot. And that's it. I've heard of someone, a big name hunter in the industry, sitting in a blind 23 days in a row until they got that big buck. That big buck finally came in within a certain distance and they shot it. I'm not saying that's a bad way to hunt. And anyway, I really don't care how you get out in the woods. Who cares? Bottom line is that a lot of this stuff is designed to feed your craze for shooting a mature buck, and it sucks your dollars out of you, and it's not necessarily effective. In fact, a lot of it is a failure before you even open the package and get out in the woods. It's deteriorating hunting skill. I think this is one of them right there because it's fooled you into thinking you can place your blind anywhere, place your stand anywhere, go in and hunt, forget about the wind, forget about how predators actually hunt, using the wind to your advantage, being very quiet, being very stealthy, having a point of ambush that'll allow you to shoot a deer when it comes by, an unsuspecting deer. You have to learn how to hunt. Just say no. Say no to some of this stuff. Learn how to hunt when it comes to fooling a big buck downwind. You know, maybe there's some product out there that works. Maybe. You know, I don't test all these products. You know why? Because I just try to do my best to learn how to hunt and educate myself more every year. I hunt multiple states of public land every year and a half since '93. I enjoy hunting public land. I enjoy getting in the woods and actually hunting, finding where bucks are actually moving during the rut, during the daylight, in the woods, in the cover. I love hunting on food plots too. But you have to always pay attention to where your stand is located. You can't ever rely that whatever you're using is going to fool deer. And the best approach to that is just to look at that, hey, this might work, but I'm going to put everything in my favor when I enter that stand. My approach, my downwind, how quiet the stand is, how quiet my gear is, my clothing, my bow when I pull it back. I'm going to rely on those things. I'm going to rely on solid hunting experience and know-how. And then what I find is everything falls in place. If you rely on a lot of these gizmos, gadgets, and gear that are just designed to soak your money out, then you're probably going to fail more often than not. And you'll find the most consistent hunters out there, unless they're in a fantasyland state, sitting in a blind, looking at a food plot that's only hunted 3 times a year. You have to learn how to hunt. And if you learn how to hunt and you actually hunt as if none of this gear was going to help you, that's how you find consistent success. If the gear, the scent elimination product actually helps you, that's just a bonus. But you're going to cover 90-95% of your hunt by just simply learning how to hunt this fall and avoiding some of these big lies that are in the hunting industry. And boy, we could go on and on for this one because there's more and more that crop up every single year. Bottom line is, again, have a great season and don't rely on these lies, gimmicks, and gizmos that are just designed to soak your hard-earned dollars from you and actually take from you when you go into the woods this fall. Well, I'm real excited, folks. I appreciate you watching this video, but my next web class, How to Plant Food Plots, How to Design Your Food Plot Program, is out. And it really goes through a step-by-step process for not only how to plant your food plots, but why you should plant them, where you should plant them, what you should plant, how you should create them. There's a lot of different modules. It ends up about 30 videos altogether. I urge you to check that out. We're out here completing our food plot work today, and we do that in a pretty strict pattern so we can find success this fall. Food plots shouldn't be a guessing game. Take the guesswork out of food plots and food plots planting, and check out the web classes. I have my How to Design Your Whitetail Property, the food plots for the next web class in the series, and I hope you enjoy it. I hope you check it out, and let me know what you think if you end up purchasing that, and I think you'd be well pleased that you did.